Welcome home. There is in this place the possibility of healing, of repair, of making things right between us and ourselves and the wider world. We gather around this light of hope as we share this time together. Amen, Ashe, and may it be so.
Thank you, Ashanti. And yes, happy Easter, everybody. And we are so glad you're here with us, whether you're here live today or tuning in later in the day or the week. We're happy you chose to spend time with us. Our prelude this morning is Joyful, Joyful from Sister Act 2. But let me tell you, the group is a group out of Houston that the police department has a program set up to work with marginalized youth that need a little more support, and also for them to get to know the police department and the police department to get to know them. So these are young people that are in that program, and they're amazing. You're going to enjoy them. Joyful, joyful. Such an amazing group of young people. I just love watching them and hearing them. And now we have our words of wisdom that Tom Hansen will read to us from the Inclusive Bible.
From Matthew. When Jesus saw the crowds, he went up onto the mountain, and after he sat down, the crowds gathered around. He began to teach them. Blessed are those who are poor in spirit, for they shall receive grace. Blessed are those that mourn, for they shall find comfort. Blessed are the meek, for they are worthy of favor. Blessed are they who hunger and thirst for justice, for they will be filled. Blessed are those who show mercy to others, for they will receive mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted for seeking justice, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when others persecute you and utter slander against you, because you follow me and seek justice, for great is your reward in heaven. Amen.
Amen. And in response to what Jesus taught us to do, we worked on a statement last week that Liz is going to read that we felt was important for Wedgewood to make.
We are heartbroken and we are outraged. The wrongful deportation of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, a husband, father of four, union member, and law-abiding resident, represents a profound violation of human rights and constitutional law. Despite a Supreme Court ruling ordering his return, the Trump administration continues to defy the court and hold him in one of El Salvador's most brutal prisons. This is not just unlawful, it is immoral. Adding to this injustice, Donald Trump has now floated the idea of the legally indefensible idea of deporting U.S. citizens to foreign prisons. And this is not about public safety or justice. It's about control, authoritarianism, and fear, wrapped in nationalism and propped up by a dangerous distortion of faith. As an interfaith community grounded in justice, compassion, and collective liberation, we are appalled. We do not gather to perform empty rituals. We gather to embody the sacred call to love our neighbors, speak truth to power, and work for a world where all people are treated with dignity. This Easter, we prepare to celebrate a season of renewal, liberation, and hope, but we cannot do so in good conscience without acknowledging the suffering caused by these acts of cruelty. We call on all churches, synagogues, mosques, and temples and communities of spirit who share these values. Do not stay silent. Use your voice. This is a moment that demands moral courage. And at Wedgewood, we honor the teachings of many spiritual leaders who call for justice, uplifted the oppressed, and insisted on truth. And we stand in that tradition. We urge the community, our community, and all who believe in love and justice to take action. Call your senators and representatives and demand accountability. Speak out, even when it's uncomfortable. Live your values every day in every way. And this is not a drill. This is a moral emergency. The Spirit of the Lord is upon me to proclaim good news to the poor, to set the oppressed free. Luke 4:18. And whatever you did for the least of these, you did for me. Matthew 25:40.
Can I hear an amen?
Amen.
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 Yes,
Amen.
yes,
Okay.
yes. And now Liz has some announcements to make. We got some exciting things coming up at Wedgewood.
Thank you, Melba. We do have some exciting things coming up in the spirit of all that we do and value and believe at Wedgewood. We have some really exciting things coming up. And in our tradition of having an open pulpit and a different speaker every Sunday, we have Lauren Rogers from International House. She will be speaking next Sunday about the work that International House does with our neighbors from abroad that have come to live in Charlotte, in the Charlotte area, and the wonderful work that International House does to uplift and support them. And we have our Social Justice Book Club. The next meeting will be this coming Thursday, April 24th. We are reading Braiding Sweetgrass, which is a really powerful book. Come and join us. It's going to be on Zoom. Come for the learning, stay for the camaraderie. You don't have to be reading the book itself to participate, but we'd love for you to join us. There's great discussion that happens, a lot of wisdom and knowledge and teachings that are shared. So join us. The Zoom link is on our website and our link tree and on our social media pages. And we have our next monthly meetup scheduled for Tuesday, May 13th at Bowding. Having a little throwback, Wedgewood used to meet at Bowding before COVID every once in a while. This was right down this road from our old space. And so we've decided to have a second little homecoming. So we have our homecoming the first Sunday in May, and then we'll have kind of like a mini one at Bowding Restaurant. We have the room in the back at the big round table where we used to meet. So we hope that you join us. If it's been a minute since you've joined us, we hope you choose to join us this coming Tuesday, as well as our homecoming, which I believe might be on the next slide. Yes, perfect. So we have our homecoming on Sunday, May 4th, which will be the week before our next monthly meetup. We're going to be going back to Pascal's Farm, where we had our holiday potluck back in, I believe, December. We just loved it so much. We're going to come back, and the Pascals are such great people. They do such great work. And we hope that you join us. If it's been a while, even if it's been since last homecoming that you joined us, come on out. Who doesn't love a good church potluck with good food, fellowship, seeing our friends and our neighbors that maybe it's been a while? Come out and join us. We'd love to have you. And we have a new program that will be starting up in partnership with the Freedom Center for Social Justice. We are offering a support group for members of the LGBTQ community that have experienced religious trauma and hurt by religious institutions. I will share that I am one of those people. I'm a member of the community, and like a lot of folks, have experienced a lot of harm from religious institutions. And I had left the Christian church I was raised in part because of it. But then I found Wedgewood, and Wedgewood has been such a healing space for me. And I really have felt called over the last few months to pay it forward. And the Freedom Center is partnering with us in this. It's going to be facilitated. We have someone who is an actual therapist and counselor who will be facilitating the sessions. It is going to be in a space in West Charlotte. We're not going to say what space it is unless you register, just because of the world that we are in right now. But it is in a safe and neutral space, a secure space. And we hope that it's a place of healing for anyone who walks through the door. So if you are interested, there is the QR code on your screen, but there is also there will be information on our website as well as in our newsletter. But if you're interested in signing up, just send an email or a direct message over social media, and we'll get you on the interest list so that when we get our first session scheduled, you will know exactly when and where to go. And there is a lot going on in the world. It feels like every day there's something new, and it can get really overwhelming. One way that I and other folks have found that's helpful in combating that feeling of overwhelm is by making your voice heard. And there's a number of different ways to do that. One of my favorite ways to do that is by using 5 calls, because they really help you with the script. There's a bunch of different topics. It's free to use, and you can do it from the comfort of your own home. But it helps you figure out who your exact elected officials are. It gives you scripts to use on different issues that you might be passionate about, so that you can actually talk to your representatives or leave them messages advocating for change. People might think that one raindrop doesn't make a difference, but raindrops all combined make a rainstorm. And rainstorms can have a big impact. So if you want to make your voice heard, this is one great way to do it. And as you see, we may be small, but we are mighty. We do a lot, and we have more things planned. So as you feel so moved to support our work, we appreciate it. There's a number of different ways to do so. You can mail your offering. You can use Venmo, PayPal, or Zelle, but we appreciate anything that you can give. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Liz. A lot of exciting things going on, and we hope you'll mark your calendars and participate. And now Tom Blanford will lead us in our extravagant welcome.
We are all welcome here. Welcome to a community that works for peace, justice, equality, and the care of Mother Earth.
We
are
are
all
welcome here.
here.
An extravagant welcome to you because of your gender identification, sexual orientation, ethnicity, economic situation, physical and mental challenges, doubting or believing, being depressed or full of joy.
We are all
welcome
here.
We are a community of curious and creative spiritual seekers, striving to learn from and embody the way of servant leadership.
We are all welcome here.
We focus on the plundered and the marginalized as we try to address the major issues of our day.
We are all welcome here.
You are invited to share your passion, your inspiration, and your personal story as one of the ways to help heal the world.
We are all welcome here.
And now we come to a time of celebrations and concerns. And I'm going to ask Tom again to start us off, because I'm sure that Kilmore Abrego Garcia is on our list, along with the many, many other people who have been disappeared from the streets of our country. We have someone right up here in Davidson that Letitia Marcus is trying to help the family picked up. Don't know where he is. It's just such a horrible situation. And I'm asked Tom if he would speak about Kilmore Abrego Garcia.
Juan Carlos Lopez Gomez, Mahmoud Khalil, Ma Young, Dr. Rasha Alowitz, Rumesha Ozturk, Merwil Gutierrez. These are names you may not have heard, but they have something in common. All of them are legal residents. Some are U.S. citizens. Some are awaiting an asylum court date. All of these people have been detained, deported by ICE without due process. As Timothy Snyder, a historian, said, America is instituting a policy of state terror. Liz spoke earlier with a note about Kilmar Abrego Garcia, so I won't repeat too much other than he's a sheet metal worker. He was a sheet metal worker with a family. His wife and children are all American citizens. And it was only recently that Senator Van Hollen was able to connect with him in El Salvador. Trump just showed a photo of Kilmar's hands with tattoos, including MS-13, but it turns out that that was photoshopped onto his hand, although he was acting as if it were tattooed. So I would like us to repeat Kilmar's name 3 times. The first time for his safety and return to the U.S. The second time that we repeat his name for his wife and children and his friends and loved ones. And the third time for all the other people, known and anonymous, whose names we don't know, who have been illegally deported to a prison camp, a torture center in El Salvador, without due process, without evidence to prove their innocence. So let's repeat his name. Kilmar
Alfredo
Garcia. And for his wife, family, and loved ones, Kilmar
Garcia.
Garcia.
And for all the others who have been illegally detained and deported, Kilmar
Abrego Garcia.
Thank you.
And I did hear last night that the courts, we know, have ordered this person brought back and many others, and Trump says he doesn't have to follow the Supreme Court. And I heard that Tufts, the young lady from Tufts University who wrote, a 15-sentence op-ed in her school newspaper and got picked up the next day by men in hoods and carried off to ICE, that he has been ordered to release her. But whether he will or not, but there's so many and we want to keep them all in our thoughts. Are there other concerns or celebrations? All right, then in the spirit of Wedgewood, we will have just a moment of silence. If you believe in prayer, use it for prayer. Meditation, self-reflection, or just maybe shaking off the week to start a new week. However you want to use the moment, but let's lift up the names we've called today. Amen. And now, Reggie and Liz will share with us the new Beatitudes for a Just World, written by one of my favorite ministers, Reverend Mark Sandlin.
Blessed are those who fight for equality, for they will dismantle systems of oppression and create a world where all are valued.
Blessed are the marginalized, for their voices will be heard, and they will shape the future.
Blessed are the climate activists, for they will inherit a planet where justice for the earth and future generations reigns.
Blessed are the refugees and displaced people, for they will find sanctuary and solidarity in a world that welcomes them with open arms.
Blessed are those who advocate for workers' rights, for they will ensure fair wages, dignity, and respect for all labor.
Blessed are those who seek racial justice, for they will dismantle racism and build a world where all skin colors are celebrated equally.
Blessed are those who stand up for the oppressed, for they will be a voice for the voiceless and bring about true liberation.
Blessed are the homeless and the hungry, for they will find nourishment, shelter, and hope in a society that finally cares for all.
Blessed are the advocates for mental health, for they will tear down stigmas and build systems of care that nurture all minds, hearts, and souls.
Blessed are the truth tellers, for they will challenge power, expose corruption, and speak for those who cannot.
Blessed are the healers and peace builders, for they will restore communities broken by violence, poverty, and division. Amen.
Thank you. Dave, we want to talk about woke Jesus. Last Sunday, we gathered to view a film called God and Country about Christian nationalism. And I feel sure that for all of us who were there, we know that that film showed who Jesus is not. Throughout his life, Jesus always delivered the same message of love and compassion. It never changed. He showed by how he lived his life, a life of love and compassion. From the very beginning, in one of his first sermons, which Tom read this morning, called the Sermon on the Mount or the Beatitudes, to the very end of his life, the message was consistent. We are told that towards the end of his life, he wept over Jerusalem because they had been blind to his message and their hearts were hardened and they did not know the way of peace. When he stood up in the temple in his last days, he spoke the same message. I have been sent to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim freedom for the captives, release for the prisoners, comfort for all who mourn. Brings me to the term woke. Often used in Christianity today, it originally meant being aware of the social and racial injustices that are around you, not just individual people, but around the world. Conservative Christians and politically conservative have often used that term negatively, saying that it refers to people who are overly progressive, who are extreme, who have radical views. I don't know when feeding people and giving people health care became a radical view. Some conservative ministers have even decried the Sermon on the Mount that Tom read this morning, saying, oh, it's too woke, it's too radical for Jesus. The word woke has roots in African American history where it meant being aware and attentive to important facts and issues, especially those related to racial and social justice. It gained wider usage in the 2010s with the Black Lives Movement as a way to express injustice and police brutality awareness. To say that someone is awakened in spiritual terms is to say they are aware of the world and the injustices and are ready to go to work to change those injustices. To define a person as woke is a compliment that they are addressing inequities and political injustice. Today, we celebrate Easter. Today, we celebrate Jesus. Jesus certainly preached a woke theology. We're told he wept over Jerusalem. Was it because they weren't awakened? I believe so. His life made it clear that he ministered in a way that showed that being woke meant living, serving, and loving. It wasn't just words, but action. In our extravagant welcome we read this morning, we speak of servant leadership and our striving to be servant leaders. Jesus was a servant leader. He cared for people. He healed the sick. He fed the hungry. He washed the feet of his disciples. He was well aware of injustices. He was a leader who would quietly expose the evils in the human heart and challenge even us today to protest those evils. Jesus was an activist. He protested the racial and ethnic division between Jews and Samaritans. When walking through Samaria, he broke the norms and challenged them when he engaged in a conversation with an excluded woman sitting by the well. He demonstrated there were no divides. In the parable of the Good Samaritan, the Jewish priest, the Levite, the Good Samaritan were all enemies. He used the Samaritan of true neighbor defying prejudice to help a neighbor. He associated with those who were considered less than. We all remember the story of Zacchaeus climbing up in the sycamore tree and Jesus going to dine with him that evening. He clearly protested religious elitism. He often criticized the Pharisees and the Sadducees and other religious leaders for their arrogance and hypocrisy and outward displays of piety, while inwardly being full of greed and self-indulgence. His teachings often undermined the interpretation of the law. You weren't supposed to heal on the sick, but he did, touching the lepers. He stood toe to toe with the religious leaders. He turned over the tables in the temple and drove the merchants out. It was a direct challenge to the practice of the elite temple establishment. He didn't do it for attention or just because he was having a bad day. He did it because people were being exploited in the name of religion. He wrecked the religious, profit-driven system that was preying on the poor. The act was Jesus's protest against the commercialization and exploitation of religion. And I love the way Reverend Mark Sandlin says it. He says this was Jesus's hell no moment, just hell no. We also see Jesus protest the grip of toxic patriarchy by allowing women both place and privilege with his disciples. This challenged the norms because women were supposed to be excluded from any religious leadership. He made a woman the first to tell his disciples that he had risen and the first to deliver the message to the others. Mary Magdalene, Joanna, Susanna, and others always traveled with Jesus and were always near him, elevating their spiritual significance and challenging their marginalized positions in society. He cared about all human suffering, and by today's definition, he was indeed woke. He was a man of color, living in a world of color. The idea of race and racial identity was not invented for another 2,500 years. And even though he wasn't battling racism, he was committed to opposing nationalism, xenophobia, and any discrimination against any group of people. There is no difference in the Jew and the Greek, he said. We talked a little bit last Sunday about the difference in nationalism and patriotism. Nationalism forces us to place our nation and ourselves above all others. But Jesus said we're all one. You can love your country and work to improve your country, but not love it above all others that causes harm to other nations. So yes, Jesus was woke. He was woke to the plight of all humanity. He was woke to the social concerns of every single person. Jesus was a compassionate caregiver and a status quo changer. He was a gentle healer and a radical activist. He was a wall destroyer, a barrier breaker. He was a shepherd to the people on the street, but holy terror to the hypocrites in the temple. He poured out his life in acts of service and generosity and empathy and sacrifice. He made selfish, powerful, entitled religious people feel very uncomfortable because he welcomed everyone to the table and declared them equal. With every breath, he preached social justice, and with every act, he shaped it. If we try to have Christianity without social justice, we have taken out the entire message at the heart of Jesus, and we're left with a fake religion we're dragging around. Justice is what Jesus was doing and preaching and demanding of those who would follow him. And that justice is exactly what made the powerful want him dead. To be Jesus woke is to be aware that, like Jesus, we will be both celebrated and ridiculed, both attractive and an outcast, and sometimes loved and sometimes despised. But Jesus tells us we must be present with all humanity, and if we are going to follow the teachings of Jesus, we must have the courage, even in these difficult times today, to be present for those who need us. This is the woke Jesus that we have been called to follow. I am so proud to be part of a woke community like Wedgewood that makes justice their focus. I am so proud to be part of a church that puts out a statement of support for the return of Kilmore Garcia and the other immigrants and people who today are receiving no justice. I am proud we are focusing on the same issues Jesus focused on, the same issues Martin Luther King, Gandhi, John Lewis, and so many other servant leaders focused their lives on. I'm proud that we're a group of people who like to get into good trouble. And may we continue to always have the courage to follow in the footsteps of all of those who made this path before us. May it be so. Amen.
Amen. That was beautiful.
Thank you. And now Ashanti has a closing song for us.
No questions or comments or anything?
Well, I think we can do that after
Okay.
the amen, since some people need to be out early today.
Yes, me too. Thank you. That was beautiful. Thank you, Melba. That was beautiful.
Thank you.
So Melba suggested this song. It's called Beatitudes. Am I saying it right? Beatitudes.
Thank you, Ashanti.
Thank you, Ashanti.
Let's have our benediction, and then since some people said they've got to really scoot out by 12 for family gatherings, we'll have our after the amen and can talk and discuss as long as we want to. But let's have our benediction. Let us be uncomfortable with easy answers, dissatisfied with a shallow fake peace, restless until all people are free. Let us be blessed troublemakers, holy agitators, and get into some good trouble. Sacred disruptors of the status quo. And when we grow weary, may we be reminded that we are following in the footsteps of a revolutionary Jesus and so many others who were early troublemakers. Help us to always work for a world transformed by love.
We extinguish this flame, but we keep the light in our hearts. Taking outside of these walls into the world in which we live in, until we see each other again. Amen, Ashe, and may it be so. Now go in peace.